Peace. What's up? What's up? Aloha. I'm your boy DJ CeeJaay, aka cjaaybeats. Welcome back to my channel, Blaze Street Productions, right here on YouTube. Trying to give you that knowledge, trying to drop it on you, that old school flavor, everything that we love about music, tech, and all of that right here. And before I get started into the video, did y'all see the Grammys? I mean, did you see what was up? I mean, Alicia Keys was getting down, cause she good anyway. And Childish Gambino, This Is America, This Is America, won record and song of the year. When you look at that and you see what that brother was talking about, is it that the Grammy committee decided that the shit was just that dope, or what was it? We don't really know. We probably never know, because we know that some folk wasn't voting for it. But anyway, congratulations all the Grammy winners and all to those that got nominated. Special shout out to the greatest producer in the world, the greatest musician. Quincy Jones, to me, is just all of that. So congratulations to Quincy Jones for his number 28 Grammy win. I've seen his documentary, all of them, 100 times. So definitely love Quincy Jones. So congratulations, Q. So what are we talking about? We're talking about the 50 greatest records and albums of my lifetime. And I told you before what I'm doing. I'm just going through all the records and things that that have been a part of my life since 1962. The recordings that have been seminal to me, the things that meant the most to me. And we're going to talk about number 49, but we're not going to talk about one particular recording on this one. We're going to talk about the individual. So if I ask you one question and I say to you, if you saw Prince in concert and he did a certain move, a dance move or something, and he split and stood back up, would you know what he was doing? Would you know who he was talking about? Would you know who he was imitating there? If you saw Michael Jackson do some things and some shimming and some shaking, what do you think? Who do you think he was doing? What do you think he was doing? If you looked at old film of Jackie Wilson and he was doing his thing, or even the Nicholas brothers, you know, what were they doing? They might have been imitating James Brown, number 49 on my list. James Brown is number 49 on my list of 50 greatest records of my lifetime, because it was his music. It was his music and his records. You know, Papa Got a Brand New Bag. My dad took me to see James Brown when I was 8 years old, because he played the records on the record player all the time. We had the old phonograph that stood in the hallway of our 3-bedroom house that we had. And my dad had a stereo at that time that he kept in the hallway, and the shit was so big it's like you had to walk around it and kind of like slide against the wall. But that was a stereo, you know what I'm saying? The stereo had to be there. And my father, by him being a musician in the 60s, I mean, my father was a musician since he was in grade school. You know, I'll tell that story another time, but you know, he was the one that influenced me since I was 5 years old, taught me how to play drums and everything. But he used to play these records, play James Brown, used to play a lot of stuff. And I just got hooked, man. I got hooked on James Brown. So he took me to see him when I was 8 years old. And then as I got older, I love James Brown. I just like love watching him on shows, especially Soul Train. I mean, he was just, to me, he was larger than life. And it wasn't until later that I realized the type of man that James Brown was, as far as how he affected the black community, about the things that he stood for. You know, stood up in Boston that night when Martin Luther King got killed, still did his show, and told black folks to not act up, act crazy, and basically settled them all down, and carried on his show there. And that was in 1968, you know. So if you think about that time in this country, man, it's just a lot of things were going on. And then James Brown stood up for that. He made a song called Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud, one of my favorites. This shit was funky, you know. But if you think about that, James Brown had a lot of things to say about us as black folks, and I'm going to talk about some things in other videos about growing up as a young black person in this country in the 60s and 70s that, you know, really affected my life. But, you know, my thoughts and my memories are mostly positive because the things that happened to me had to deal with, you know, how my parents taught me, you know, and as young, me and my siblings, they taught us about respect, about dignity. You know, first of all, it was about respect. So, you know, we respected everybody. And growing up in the South, you know, I grew up in an all-black neighborhood, and you know, went to a segregated. I went to integrated school though. I went to integrated schools, but I grew up in a black neighborhood. But it was just different things, and just listening to James Brown's music, and then learning later on about how the influence he was in the community was just such a big influence. And so, to me, at that time in my life, little shorty growing up and realizing what Mr. Brown was trying to do, didn't understand it at the time because I was loving his music. Here's a quick story. My auntie used to come pick me up in the summer. She lived up north in Newton, New Jersey, and she would come get me because she was going to grad school. She was going to graduate school, getting her master's degree in physical education, and one summer she brought me to Newark, and she was living with her roommates, and it was her and like 3 or 4 of her roommates, and they used to tell me, man, do the dance for us, do the James Brown. And they used to play the records. I used to dance, and it's just like some of the best times of my life, you know, because I loved it, you know, because they played that James Brown. I was just getting down cutting the rug because I just had that little thing. I could do it, you know, and then I just had that little groove, you know. It was just with me. So that's what I was doing. So that's one of my favorite memories. So, you know, like I say in these videos, I'm just basically sharing a segment of life, to where these segments of life put together carry us through our lifetime. It's like, and the music is a part of it, you know. The music, it just brings us together. So I'm just trying to get you to have your memories and remember some things too, because that's what I'm doing. You know, all my life I just wanted to share my love of music with people and just talk about it, about how, you know, music is just kind of got me through a lot of things. And so number 49, James Brown, I loved him. I got a chance to see him in concert when I was a kid. You know, later on in his life, he went through a lot of hard times, but I think the legacy of James Brown is greatness now. You know, there was some documentaries that were made, and we realized that he was, you know, disrespectful of some women and things like that, you know, and that wasn't right, you know. But I think as people, as human beings, you know, we're flawed in different ways. But I think from his musical legacy, I'll just have to give him his props as being one of the greatest musical performers of all time, influencing Prince, Michael Jackson, a lot of different people. So number 49 on my list. Please like the video. Please subscribe. Give me your comments on what you think about it. I'll talk later on in a segment differently that I'm gonna talk about documentaries and things about that. But for right now, James Brown is number 49 on my list of the 50 greatest records of my lifetime, influences. So we're gonna keep it going. I'll check you out in the next video. In the meantime, peace, and may your higher power take care of you. Yeah.